Yesterday, I felt like I wouldn't want to say a proud papa. I was like a proud neighbor. Watching the kid down the street that I watched grow up, like, do something awesome with their life. And I'm like, I don't know if I had much to do with it, but I've been here for the ride, so I just appreciate that it's taken place. The Panthers have the alignment that we've been saying they need for a long time. And it's the first time it's felt this way in a long time. Right? We jokingly nicknamed the Dave Canales, Dan Morgan hiring as the alignment because they said it so often. And I often say the four horsemen of the franchise need to be in alignment, that being owner, GM, head coach, quarterback. If all of those four are on the same page, your franchise is on the right side of things. When Scott Fitterer was the GM and Matt Rule was there or Frank Reich was there or Dave Tepper was meddling, they were darn sure never on the same page. Most times, I don't even know if they were in the same library.
Marty Herney?
I mean, we can go on and on down the list. Really, since Tepper's been there, the alignment has been
Tepper.
Not there. Not there. Yesterday, it did feel aligned. And here's what I mean. Ejiro Evero, the defensive coordinator, was retained. Okay? That gives yourself the opportunity to show off how on the same page or how not on the same page you are, because one might say that's not the obvious decision. When you give up more points, raw total, most total points in a season in the history of the NFL, keeping the defensive coordinator is some people aren't going to agree with that. Dennis, I know you did some deep dives into how bad this defense was. Yeah, there you go. He's bringing out the notebook. Go ahead and illustrate how quite frankly horrendous the defense was this year.
So looking at the lack of big plays that this team has made, just the last 2 years, 3 times, the number is 3, Tim, that the Carolina Panthers have sacked the quarterback and also forced a fumble on that same play. Just 3 times in the last 2 years.
So 3 strip sacks.
3 strip sacks.
Wow.
It was week 1, the third play of the game against the Atlanta Falcons. Brian Burns had one. That was the only one all of last season. This year, week 2, it was a Jaden PV, DJ Johnson combination against Justin Herbert in week 2, and then DJ Wanham on Jalen Hurts against Philadelphia in week 14. That's it. That's it.
They're not getting to the quarterback enough overall, and then obviously once they're getting there, they're not
doing
attacking the football.
Sack percentage last season, dead last in the NFL. Red zone defense also in the bottom third of the NFL each of the last 2 seasons. If you also look at just splash plays made by the defense, they had 2 pick sixes last year. One was by Sam Franklin against Minnesota, the Vikings. The other one was by Troy Hill in garbage time against the Miami Dolphins on the road. That's the only 2 defensive touchdowns he had last year. This year, 0 defensive touchdowns. Like, no big plays coming from this defense at all. Also, if you look at just the number of takeaways per game, this season for the Carolina Panthers, they averaged 1 takeaway per game as a team, 20th in the NFL. Last year, 2023, when you have Burns, Luvu, Derrick Brown, 0.6, dead last in the NFL.
I'm hearing the words dead last a lot.
Yes. Also, if you look at, again, splash plays, defense, interception percentage. So this is the amount of times that the opposing quarterback has thrown an interception over the course of a season. 1.7% this year, 24th in the NFL. Last year, 1.66%, 24th in the NFL.
Not good.
Not good.
So keeping the defensive coordinator, by the way, they have access to all the numbers that Dennis has.
Yeah.
And then some. They have analytics departments. Keeping your defensive coordinator after that season, after the last 2 seasons, with all those stats being what they are, that better be an all-in move. And everyone in the alignment has an issue there, or has not an issue, has a role. Dave Canales, what did he do? Came out, said it with his chest. Evero will be the defensive coordinator next year. And then Dan Morgan, the GM, another member of that alignment, came to the podium. And what did he do? He didn't just blindly back. He didn't just distance himself and say, well, it's going to have to be better next year. He didn't do any of that. He attracted the blame like a leader should. When things go poorly, attract blame. When things go well, deflect credit. Dan Morgan put it on him to put together better defensive personnel.
I love EJ. I love his defense. I think it's a really good scheme. But again, like, I have to do my part as well, you know, me and my staff, of putting really good players on the field and adding really good pieces to the defense. And, you know, again, the young guys are developing on the defensive side of the ball. There's some young guys that, you know, we're excited about there. You know, and just some cornerstone guys that we have on defense, too, that we're excited to get back with Derrick Brown and JC.
That's exactly what a group that knows the message would say. Dan Morgan goes out there, it's on me. I have to do this. EJ's doing exactly what we want. We love his system. You got to love up on the guys that just got their teeth kicked in. That's what this season was for the defensive coordinator for the Panthers. Dan Morgan continued on how he's going to fix the defense.
I'm not really into, like, quick fixes. Like, I don't think there's such thing as, like, a quick fix. So, obviously, you want to fix things as soon as possible, but I'm just going to go into it as, hey, listen, we know where we were on the defensive side of the ball. We do have to continue to add playmakers on that side of the ball. So I just think we have to look at every avenue and explore every avenue to find those playmakers. And hey, if we find somebody and we like somebody, you know, whether trade, whether draft, whether free agency, we're going to explore every path.
And he's managing expectations. There's no quick fix. Don't expect us to be 100% better right away. Give us time. That's what he's saying. I don't know if Dan Morgan believes anything he said. But saying it, regardless of whether you believe it, if you do believe it, perfect. Even better. If you don't, saying it is still the right thing to do once you decide to bring Evero back. Dave Canales has Evero's back, backing him up publicly. Dan Morgan attracting blame so it doesn't pile up on Evero. Then they all get to work on fixing it. And do you know what might be the best part about it? Do you know what is the best part about yesterday? David Tepper has said almost nothing. It's been a long time since he had, like, high-profile decisions are made, and he said almost nothing. He's been quoted kind of hyping up Bryce Young. He's been quoted saying, oh, it's a longer run when talking about Dave Canales and Dan Morgan. David Tepper's been a good owner this year. Now, that's, 1 year out of a handful, and you know it takes a lot longer than one to make you forget the past, but this is as good as the alignment has been. Bryce Young is in alignment with the coaches for the first time in his career. I don't think they were using him best at the beginning of the year. I definitely don't think they were using him best last year, but the coaches are starting to see how he sees the game, calling a better game for him. The head coach and the GM are tag teaming the proper way to communicate on exit interviews about your defensive coordinator, and the owner is supporting them with their silence. That is as good as the owner, GM, head coach, quarterback line of communication, line of competence has been for the Panthers in a very long time. As long as those four stay on the same page, those four trust each other, those four continue to develop alongside each other and have each other's back, dare I say you can make mistakes. You're not going to get every draft pick right. Bryce Young's not going to be a linear, straight-up path to being a MVP. He's going to have lulls, right? Dave Canales is going to mishandle situations. But as long as those four continue to trust each other, Dave Tepper continues to stay out of the way, Dan Morgan continues to draft pretty darn well, Dave Canales continues to get better each and every day as a coach, and Bryce Young is more the second half of this year Bryce Young than first half and last year Bryce Young, Panthers have a core they can build off of. I like to talk about the Ravens' positions on defense, because if you look at the best Ravens, they always had a good defensive tackle, they always had a good middle linebacker and a good safety. Think like Haloti Ngata, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed. Right? They built through the middle, and then you can figure everything else out as long as you're stout in the middle. Same thing here. If you have a good quarterback that trusts his head coach, the head coach is good and trusts his GM, the GM is good and trusts his coach, and the same thing in reverse. You start there and you build out from it. It is a firm foundation. Yesterday, the Panthers had that. I just want to talk about how unusual it felt. I'm going like, well, who's going to say something stupid this time? Who's going to misspeak? Who's going to... Wait, they're all doing it right. Look at that. Media availability, done. Nobody put their foot in their mouth. Congratulations.